I am so excited to announce that iDriveAClassic is now sponsored by Adrian Flux, one of the UK's leading classic car insurers. If you're looking for classic car insurance, I've popped a link to Adrian Flux in the description box below.
Hi guys, it's Steph from iDriveAClassic, or should I say, hi guys, it's Steph from iDriveAClassic. Because today, Teddy and I will be testing one of the most iconic minis in the world, Mr. Bean's actual mini.
Now, because today's video is a little bit different, we don't usually have celebrities on the channel. The walk around section of this video is going to be slightly different because we're going to talk about the history of this particular car with a little bit of technical detail, but it's not every day that we take out Mr. Bean's minis. So I wanted to share some of that history with you instead of the usual technical. So, with lots of incorrect information flying around the internet, such as this being the car which was crushed in the TV show, I wanted to give you, the viewer at home, the correct information about this particular car, which has been made really easy for me because the owner is a massive Mr. Bean fan and has painstakingly researched the history and shared it with me for this video, which is a massive bonus. So before I begin, I will clarify the cars that we are talking about today are the ones used in the 90s TV show. I know other cars have been used in the films, for example, but I wanted to focus on this car we're testing here today and how it fits into the Mr. Bean TV series history. So first of all, despite this Mini being the Mini most people think of when they think of Mr. Bean, there were actually several Minis used. So first of all, there was RNT 996H, an orange Mini with a Sandglow passenger side wing, and due to it receiving a lot of abuse in the first episode, it was suspected to have disappeared in the passages of time. However, I've got a little bit of a secret for you. It has recently reappeared. So it's gone into a private collection, and we may see this featured on iDriveAClassic at some point in the perhaps distant future. So, for TV and movie buffs, it's really interesting to note that after the Orange Mini had appeared in the first episode, it then became something of a bit of a donor car, and the steering wheel cover, front seats, carpet, and seat protector covers were then later moved over to the Green Mini. And in fact, this steering wheel cover that you'll see in the walk around and you'll see when we're driving today is the actual steering wheel cover from the series. So we're dealing with some real TV history here today. Now, SLW287R, as we're testing here today, is probably one of the most famous minis in the world, and it is a 1977 Leyland Cars Mini sporting the original 998cc engine and 4 forward speed manual transmission unit. It's painted Austin Citron green and has a matte black bonnet, and it's also painted matte black inside, but we'll get to see that in a minute. Now, despite this being the Mini you probably think of when you watch Mr. Bean, there are actually 3 Minis painted in this colour used within the series for driving bits and pieces, and 2 additional cars that had no engines but were crushed in that, that really sad scene with the tank where it runs over Mr. Bean's Mini? Yep, they were used in addition to one of the main understudy driving cars. Although, of course, for the purpose of filming, they all had the same plates on, which matched this particular car. Now, of course, I have done all my work on this. I have checked this is the correct car, but I had no doubts anyway because there were heritage documents, there were history files, there's even Rowan Atkinson's signature as both himself and Mr. Bean on the sun visor, but more of that later. So the reason they had multiple minis was to film additional footage and various other bits and pieces, as we'll discuss later. But you'll note, if you're a bit of a Mr. Bean fan, that all of the cars had 3 washer jets. And this was actually for the Mr. Bean visits the dentist, famous getting ready while driving scene. And if you stay past the rolling credits, you'll get to see me have a bit of a weird moment trying to get that shot myself. But anyway, as I was saying. Now, that was also put onto the other minis as well because, well, continuity. Despite this colour scheme screaming Mr. Bean from the moment you clap eyes on it, I'm going to let you into another secret. This car wasn't always this colour scheme, and in fact started life as a Harvest Gold car. And for reference, the paint job on this car is so good that I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't been told that before I took it out on a drive. Now, the first time Mr. Bean's Green Mini was actually used was in episode 3 of the series. However, it's not only the paint job that's famous on this car, it's also the padlock. Now, in that episode 3, the padlock isn't on the door at the start, but by the end of the episode, it is present. That's TV continuity for you. Now, another piece of trivia from that first episode that we see this car in is that the traffic light scene, the plates are different on this car, front and back. And the back plate reads SLK 287R, so really similar, but was actually on a Ford Cortina, which was used in another Mr. Bean sketch. Now, really interestingly, and this might link in with some of the bits and pieces we've already talked about, the episodes weren't all filmed in order, so the production team often swapped bits between the minis and all sorts of other little details. So just an interesting point to note. Now, of course, anyone watching this, and it's something that many of you have asked me about this week, is am I going to be getting on the roof and driving this? And it's no for two reasons. Number one is I am terrified of heights. Number two is this isn't actually the Mini that was used for that scene. Sorry if that's a bit of a giveaway or a spoiler for anyone. The other Mini that was used for this actually was given a secret hidden driver compartment and roof strengthening so that that stunt work could happen without any damage to the car. And in fact, when that scene was filmed, the driving on the roof scene, this particular car was given a bit of a spruce up prior to filming, and that's when they took out the seats and the carpet from the orange Mini. But the steering wheel cover was also removed, however, didn't quite make it to the bin because it somehow survived and it's back on this car. So you're probably wondering, with Mr. Bean being such an iconic series, where are all these cars now? So SLW, as we see here today, is in a private collection. As I've already mentioned, the orange Mini is also in a private collection, and one of the other green and black Minis, YAN 939T, is so that's the one that was used in the driving on the roof scene, has moved around a fair bit. So it was owned by Peter Nelson, who owned the Cars of the Stars Museum, which is now sadly closed, but is now living a far more luxurious life over in Florida. Now, SLW, in my opinion, is one of the most iconic cars of childhood TV, and having it here before us today is a massive deal, and it's only possible because the owner now has lent it to us today. So thank you so much. This is such a privilege, as I'm sure many of you at home will agree with me. Now, I will let you into yet another secret. Lots of secrets here today. This car is about to go off for a no expense spared nut and bolt resto, because whilst it does look absolutely amazing, I have been assured that it does need a bit of work to preserve it for the future. And you know what? All the power to the owner, because this may not have happened at all, because we nearly lost this car to the ravages of time, because the current owner, who is, as I've already mentioned, a massive Mr. Bean fan, spotted this on a bit of a weird advert. It was painted Java green and had a broken number plate, and he looked at it and said, if that isn't Mr. Bean's Mini, that must be a really close number. So he went to go and look at it, and upon arriving to view, he realised that it was actually Mr. Bean's Mini. So there was a lot that needed to be done, from shoddy parts to engine work, but the current owner has really treated this car as the celebrity it really is. And I guess what I like most about this car of all, because it's an exciting car, but the best thing about it, as you'll see when we go driving here today, is every original part that could be spared and saved has been. The tyres are even remolds of the original Camac tyres, which for me is a kind of insane attention to detail, which sets apart a classic car owner and a true historian and custodian. It's a privilege and pleasure to share this car with you today. So let's crack on. I have so much to show you. So we come inside the car, and there are a few little bits that
tell us that this was a Mr. Bean Mini. So number one up here, we've got Rowan Atkinson has signed this, both as himself and Mr. Bean. And we've got the steering wheel cover. Now the seat covers, whilst they are period correct and they are a period accessory, they are oh so slightly different to the ones that were featured in the series, but the owner has put them on anyway, and I love that because as you look around this car, you see there is so much attention to detail and care to getting it right, and I really like that. Now, there's something else that I found when I was doing a dig round, which was toothbrush and toothpaste. I think it's episode 4. Mr. Bean gets ready on his way to work and looks very much like me getting ready on my way to work, actually, where he brushes his teeth, and in fact, that is why that little windscreen washer jet is where it is, because he angles it in his mouth. And later on I'm going to have a go at that, but that might appear on outtakes later. Now, although on the outside we had the padlock, we had the number plate, and we had various other little giveaways that told us this was Mr. Bean's actual Mini, inside there are far less things to give it away. These seat covers that you see here, they're really similar to the seat covers that were in the car when they were filming the TV series, but these are just, they're period correct, but they are oh so slightly different. As well as that, we've got this steering wheel cover. Now this was actually on one of the other Minis, so there were 3 Minis used, and this was on the orange Mini, but it was bought and all this serial numbers and stuff being matched up. There's so much attention to detail on this car. Mr. Bean has actually left something in the car. He's left his toothbrush and a toothpaste as well, but by and large it is pretty much as you would expect a Mini to be. We've got the air vent, so as you can see, you just twist that to open. I have been reliably told if we go through it at speed in a puddle, water will come up through that. So we've got our temperature gauge, our speedo, and our oil gauge as well. So if you've been in a Morris Minor, you'll recognise that central speedo placement. That is just a bit of a hangover because of course this car was designed by Alec Asconis, who'd also done the Morris Minor. Now above that we've got the ashtray, and as we come down into the centre we've got a very basic control panel. So running from left to right, we have got the choke, we've got the rear heated screen, we've got just a little switch there that tells us if our brakes are working, and over here we've got hazard warning light, and these are just your side lights and your main beam of course, and over here's your heater control, but that is just a bit stiff. Now down here is your heater, and these are notoriously good actually. I've seen it done before. They've been taken out of Minis and put into Morris Minors. So of course we've got car screen and off, we've got on and off there as well. And that's not all, because Rowan Atkinson and Mr. Bean, bizarrely, have both signed this sun visor. And I'm going to press the horn for you as well, because the horn is so Mr. Bean. Have a listen. It's just really cute. Before I show you the gearbox, I wanted to show you Teddy, who, by the way, is a lot bigger than I imagined. So this isn't original Teddy, he lives with Rowan Atkinson. This is a bit of his brother, because Rowan Atkinson did donate a Mr. Bean Teddy to the Teddy Bear Museum, and when that shut down, the bears were auctioned off, and the owner of this car managed to get hold of Teddy and reunite him with SLW. So it's exactly as you'd expect. In fact, it's the same as my Metro, so it's up into first, down into second, across, up into third, down into fourth, and then we lift and we come across into reverse. So let's get this amazing little car started up so you can hear what it sounds like. And remember, we've got that 998 series, A series under the bonnet. So let's go up through the gearbox. So straight away I can kind of see why Minis A make so much money and why people absolutely love them, because this is honestly absolutely hilarious to drive. It's a lot throatier and noisier inside than I expected, so I think on a long drive it'll probably do your head in a bit, but my God, it's absolutely amazing. And I just feel like I need to pinch myself because I am driving Mr. Bean's actual Mini. Now, of course, we're on drum brakes all round with this, so even though it is a smaller car, we do need to be really thinking ahead of what we're doing. And I'm quite surprised actually, because the 998 engine in this is absolutely rapid. I'm not exactly sure what I was expecting, but I thought it would be a little bit sluggish, but it's really just pulling itself along. I'm really impressed. It's incredible because what you lack in controls, because yeah, you haven't got many controls, you absolutely make up for it in the driving experience, because as you can see, we only have to turn the wheel oh so slightly to be getting a positive result. And with many cars of this era, you're really having to put a lot of legwork in before you can get a result out of it. So I think one of the things is that when you take iconic cars out on a test, they already come with a bit of a reputation. So when I took the Beetle, I was assured by so many people, it'd be the best car you ever drive. And I was really disappointed. So I was kind of prepped for this to be, if I'm honest, really disappointed. But the Mini has really won me over. And we were debating actually as we drove, oh, is it time to sell all the Metros and invest in a Mini? You know, that is how impressed we've been with this Mini. And it's not just for the handling, because the handling on this, in my opinion, is supreme. It is so responsive. In fact, it's one of the most responsive cars I've driven. And to say that this was designed in 1959, a full 10 years before man landed on the moon, you know, 1959, people still had black and white televisions, and yet the technology that they put into that car made in 1959 carried on until 2001, and it's for a really good reason, because these cars are exceptional and in my opinion deserve every little bit of praise they get. Are they the most refined thing on the road? Absolutely not. Are they the most practical? No, probably not. Could you fit 1,000,001 things in here? Probably not. But are they one of the most fun? Absolutely, because driving doesn't have to always be practical. It doesn't always have to be about getting from A to B. Sometimes it's enjoying the driving experience, and for me this has been all about enjoying the driving experience. Now that's kind of it from me really, but I just wanted to say a massive thank you for watching iDriveAClassic, because it is insane to think that a channel that I started as a bit of a hobby back in late spring 2019 has now got a massive 15,000 subscribers. So thank you everybody who watches, contributes. I don't always get to reply to all the comments, but I promise I read them all. And just thank you for all the support along the way, and thank you to everybody especially who has lent a car and helped to build the rich tapestry that is iDriveAClassic. It's been a fabulous experience, and roll on the next 5k. So until next time, take care and drive safely.
Now, I won't lie to you, I thought it was going to be easy to recreate that scene in Mr. Bean, but actually I just ended up producing content that people are probably going to screenshot and turn into some pretty ropey memes later on Twitter. Anyway, I did eventually get it in my mouth. Oh my God, that is the worst double entendre ever. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, take care, drive safely, and have a lovely week. And thank you very much for supporting iDriveAClassic. See you later. Bye.